Dear sisters, devotees and friends, just Friday last you had a lecture, maybe Sunday you had another lecture. I don't know how far you are going to bear this today's lecture immediately after these two lectures. Surprise visits, surprise gifts, surprise contacts are very sweet, no doubt. But surprise talks, I don't know how far is going to be sweet for you. Anyway, I'm extremely happy to be here once again, even if it is a short while. And I have known some of the sisters for many, many years, decades I must say. So it's always nice to encounter the family members, and I am glad I'm be here. When Swami Sarvadevanand told me, would you like to give a talk or please give a talk, when he said, I thought it is going to be a just table talk, just after tea in the evening. But I never knew that I have to stand on the podium and then tell you something. So let us take it more informal, that I would like to share a few thoughts that on the quest of spirituality. And I understand that soon after Arati you always meditate, and let me just begin my talk with a short 5 minutes meditation, guided meditation. And that will give time for you to think and for me to think also a little bit. So please sit erect as far as possible and close your eyes. Avoid the temptation or curiosity to open your eyes and see who the other person is doing and what the other person is meditating and how. Feel the ground firmly with your feet, not sitting on the toes of your feet. And in this sacred place where great Swamis have been meditating, the wonderful mountains, the trees and plants, and the pure air around, and the source of all energy, sun's light penetrating through this hall. Let us make salutations to the great masters. Mentally salute all those great masters, Buddha, Christ, Krishna, Rama, or whoever it may be. Let us pray through our heart. For the health of our own, for the health of the family members, friends, relatives, and all the living beings on the earth. Let all be happy. Let everyone be free from disease, free from fear. Now just follow the simple instructions. We are all sharing the same space in this hall. We are all sharing the same energy that exists in this hall. Each one of us has a certain amount of energy working in this body. Apparently it looks like we are all individuals separate from one another. But from the standpoint of view of the space that we share, that oxygen that we share, we are all one. Sharing the same space, sharing the same air, sharing the same energy resources. We are one. Let our prayers and the blessings of the Lord reach every corners of this planet. Imagine the prayers and the blessings go in the form of waves to all the corners of the horizon. Just visualize mentally. Expand your consciousness. All the living beings, plants, animals, mountains, forests, waters, ocean, everything. We are part of that existence. You are not alone. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. So this awareness or awakening of a new dimension of consciousness is what I consider a part of spiritual practice. We normally don't remember, not even remember in the least way, that there exists something enormous, something great, something wonderful in our daily life. Every day we are experiencing, but we forget. We never remember that we should thank the source of energy, that is sun. We don't remember even for a second. We remember so many thousands of things. We don't identify that with the rest of the living beings. Even though all the time we are sharing the same space, same energy, we don't remember that. We are all the time identified with our own small little body consciousness and all that is related to this body consciousness, nothing else. So spirituality for me, especially it is in my point of view, is awakening this new dimension of consciousness. There are so many ways of looking at it, but this is only one way of looking at it. Suppose you sit every day and expand your mind. Let it be as broad as the sky. Let your heart be as deep as the ocean. You will see, you will have a different dimension of the life. Spirituality is not something secret or sacred only to a few. It is a question of transformation of consciousness. We begin with what we know. Let us begin with what we know. We know we are bodies. We are given a name the moment you are born. And the society has its own rules. Mother, father, and the teacher teaches you and tells you you are this and this and this. But a moment comes, you say, no, there is something more which I don't know. We call it rebellions. The spirituality begins with a kind of rebellion against what you know or what you are or what you have. So therefore, it begins with the transformation of your consciousness. How far you do it depends upon each one's capacity. It is much easier. Oh, this transformation much easier. You can teach, you can practice. But there comes many challenges, difficulties. That is another part. What I am trying to say is this transformation of consciousness, or even more correctly, awakening of new dimension of consciousness which is already there in your heart, which we have been experiencing. I can be born as a body conscious person, but I need not have to be bound by that. I need not have to be confined to that body consciousness. So the beginning of this awareness is what is called the beginning of the spirituality. So I am talking about the spirituality. Let us start with what we know. And spirituality I don't know. So let us travel from what you know to what we do not know apparently. What we know, we are bodies and we take care of it. We are bound by body consciousness. Anything that happens to this body, it affects us very deeply. And body has its own way of transformation. Inevitable, as Buddha said, there are 6 inevitables. So the body has to undergo birth, growth, and of course disease, and one day death, whatever it may be. But I need not have to confine only this. The spirituality begins when you look at this aspect of awakening a new consciousness, a new dimension of your experience of the world, experience about yourself. Start with yourself. I don't have to confine myself. I don't have to identify myself with just one body or one mind or something that is all related to this body only. I am not telling that body consciousness is something wrong. No, not at all. But our identifying to the body only is what is giving the source of, or what is giving all the troubles. It is the source of all problems in our life. Our lack of contact with the real self is the source of all suffering, whether we know it or not. Our lack of contact with the real self is the source of all suffering, all difficulties. But one can overcome all these things, no doubt about it. So therefore, this awakening of new dimension of consciousness, new awareness, is the beginning of spiritual practice or spiritual life, to my point of view. This is one aspect of the spiritual practice. And there comes very interesting things. When you begin to practice this, the whole thing changes. The vision about you, the vision about the world, the vision about the other beings, everything changes, begin to change. The change does not take place overnight. It begins to change slowly and steadily, bringing lot of changes within you. Apparently you are the same person, but inside completely different. That's what happens. True spirituality is something like a drilling machine. All the time it go deeper and deeper within you, bringing the best what is hidden there. We are not trying to create a new God or new consciousness, nothing. You don't have to do that. What is already there, we have forgotten, or we are limiting to only a small little world, and therefore we suffer. We cut off from the rest of the existence. We cut off from everything else that exists. And I am thinking, oh, I am this, I am only this. So identifying with the body consciousness is not something wrong as such, but limiting to the body consciousness is what makes it difficult. For a realized soul, body consciousness is not something wrong. For a realized soul, ignorance is not something perturbing. You may ask, how? Can a realized soul can have ignorance? Certainly, it can exist, but it will not affect the person. Just like the poison will not affect the snake. The snake is not dead because of the poison, it exists, whereas it affects the other person. So similarly, a realized soul has this dimension of consciousness. He is not affected by the existence of the shadow of ignorance or all that is connected with it. Body consciousness can exist, no problem. What I am trying to say is not to limit to the body consciousness. Expand, identify with all the existence that is around you. Every day you wake up, as soon as you wake up, why don't you thank the source of the energy? You are celebrating Thanksgiving once a year, but for me, for spiritual aspirants, Thanksgiving should be every day's event. I thank the source of the energy, sun. I thank the multi-dimensional manifestation of the nature. You are part of it. We are part of it. You have not brought your oxygen cylinder, or I have not brought mine. We are sharing the same oxygen here in this hall, same space, but are we aware of all these things? No. This kind of expansion of consciousness is the beginning of this true spiritual practice. And as you go more and more deeper, the knowledge comes, knowledge about everything, knowledge about the physical world, knowledge about the physical science. It has its own place. It is important. There are three kinds of knowledge. Talking about knowledge, there are three types of knowledge, I must say. First is the knowledge of the world, the laws that govern this universe, govern this world. Physical knowledge, maybe knowledge of this music, knowledge of medicine, knowledge of mathematics, physics, chemistry, all that we have. It is important for us. In fact, 99% of the persons of our lives go with this knowledge. We go to the college, we get a degree, we earn money, we get jobs, and our life goes on. So this knowledge is very important. Swami Vivekananda insisted in this. That's why he was very particular opening the schools and colleges and educational institutions. It's important, no doubt. This is one category of knowledge. The second category of knowledge is something more deeper. That is the subtle level. That is called mind, the memory, or how the emotions come up and down and goes, and one moment you are happy, another moment you are unhappy, one moment you feel everything is wonderful, another moment you feel this world is nothing but inferno. Inferno? Conhece inferno? That means the fire in which it burns everything. So you don't like to be even for a moment. It is a hell. Why this happens? Why do you get so angry at one moment? It's the slightest provocation. I explode. I don't know why I get, but I do experience all these things. So this kind of knowledge, that knowledge about what is going on inside, is another science. It's called subtle existence, subtle knowledge. You may call it a psychological or psychiatric or the department of psychiatric or whatever it may be. So that knowledge, if one has some kind of knowledge how to handle your mind, how to handle the ups and downs in your daily life, how to handle your emotions, how to handle the other things that goes on all the time inside. If you know, you have a chance of being calm and quiet to some extent. But that is very important. But that is not enough. So the third category of knowledge, that is where we give a lot of importance, that is self-knowledge. The knowledge about your true self, which is hidden, which we do not know, which you are not aware of, that is considered the highest knowledge. And gaining that knowledge, you gain everything. That knowledge is the source of all power, all that you are seeking. You may ask, what is the point of having this knowledge? I also thought like this. This self-knowledge, all the time they are talking about this. What do I gain? Because we always calculate in terms of what do I gain. I go on Tuesday evening to Santa Barbara Temple to listen to a Swami who comes from somewhere far off. What do I gain? In terms of gaining. What do I gain by this knowledge? I can give you a long list of benefit that you can gain by this knowledge. But I will just shorten only a few. The first thing is, with this knowledge, your doubts are reduced. Your doubts about the life. All the time we have doubts, even doubts about small things. Little bit of things you need a consultant. You need a friend. You ring up and then talk to your nun. What should I do? Or what should I not do? You need. So, by developing this knowledge, your doubts are reduced, number one. Number two, your fear is reduced to the extent you gain this knowledge. We have fear in every small little thing. You may have everything, you may have plenty of money, you may have plenty of property, everything you may have, still the fear is there. Who is going to reduce this fear? God will not come down and ready, okay, I am doing it. Maybe rare being it happens, but in general, no, it doesn't happen. So how to do that? This knowledge removes the fear. All our fear has the origin, the fear of death one day. One day saying goodbye to all the dear and near ones. It is lurking all the time. You never know when that moment comes. We never know. Any time it can happen. Any time can be a last moment. So there was a great saint, Kabir, who had a verse says, "Oh my friend, repeat the name of Lord with every breathing, because you never know which will be your last breath." Wonderful teaching, marvelous. Repeat the name of the Lord with every breathing, because you never know which will be your last breath. You are not sure. So therefore, it reduces a lot of fear in us. Number three, it gives you an immense internal power to confront with the problems of daily life. The power, you never know how it comes, but it comes. At necessary moment, at important moment in your life, this power comes. Okay, you can withstand. This storm will go away. This cyclone will pass, and then you will get back. The soul has the power and the energy to give this power through you. The third and fourth, it gives you peace of mind. This knowledge has the power to reduce the waves in the mind. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, you read, who is going to reduce the waves in my mind? No outside agency will come and do it for me. This knowledge does. The more I gain this self-knowledge, it does. It reduces. In many different ways it reduces. As a result of the reduction in the number of thoughts in your mind, you are more peaceful. And then comes the clarity of thinking. What is right and what is not right. What is to be done, what is not to be done. Becomes very clear. We all know what is to be done, but we don't have the power to do. We fail. We all know what is not to be done, what is not good for us, but we don't have the power not to do that. We are going on repeating the same thing. So therefore, this self-knowledge has the potential power to give you strength, inner strength, enormous strength, which can withstand all the cyclones in your life, which can take you across the ocean of your life. So these are some of the benefits. Therefore, the self-knowledge is utmost importance. It is not dismissing the other two types of knowledge. It is only fulfilling. It is only enveloping the other two, enriching the other two types of knowledge. And we begin with the awakening of the new dimension of the existence or dimension of the consciousness, and that consciousness penetrates through this knowledge. The more we gain it, the more we feel it, and we go to the next step, and all the spiritual instructions become very vivid, very lively. The spiritual life itself becomes very sweet. It is not any more dull, dead. Sometimes we go to spiritual things because we had so many problems in life, and if you are not aware of it, the very spirituality, very so-called spiritual meditation and concentration and all these things itself becomes another type of stress and strain. Oh, I thought I would resolve everything here, but then here come and one more avenue of stress is added. No, that's not the case. We should not give way to that. That is not an intelligent way of handling the spiritual aspect of our life. You have to be very definite about what you are doing and how it is helping you in transforming within yourself. That itself is a kind of source of strength. It happens. It can happen to anybody. It all depends upon your effort. Now you may think, oh, Swami makes it simple. So simple. That is wonderful. But then that is only in the beginning. I am telling you all these things after 40 years of going through this spiritual practice. I am just sharing what I know for sure. I am not here just to teach you something. No, I am just sharing some of the thoughts, some of the experiences, some of the things. For example, in the morning, in the class to the monastics in Hollywood Center, I was telling about this. Literally, a person can feel freedom, what freedom really means. Now, we have been talking about this freedom, 4th July freedom. And here now, all the literature, all the spiritual literature in every religion talks about freedom. The great sages and saints talks about freedom. You can read, you can write, you can think of it, doesn't matter. But do you know what really freedom? Have you realized it? Maybe you must have made a trip to South America or Europe or anything, freedom. But then when you come back, you are in the same square, number one. You find yourself there is nothing happened new. You only traveled and then came back with something that you were in earlier. It did not make you feel free really. Freedom is completely a different feeling. To know freedom, you must know first what is binding. That everybody knows. Binding. What is binding? Everybody knows. What is perturbing you? Why there is so much of difficulties, problems? These are all binding. I did not have to give a talk on this subject. But what is the other side, the freedom? That is something wonderful idea. One has to realize it. I am not talking about the highest freedom, samadhi, illumination or anything. No. I have a concept of little different type of freedom. That is small freedoms. Small freedoms can take you to the highest freedom. This knowledge, self-knowledge, has the potential power to bring these small freedoms. And the small freedoms add more and more, and finally it gives you a clear picture of what real freedom means. Without going to the highest freedom, the small freedom I would like to touch here and there with one or two incidents. I have been reading for 30 years, you can say, a kind of freedom. Those who are seekers, those who are seeking spiritual growth should have dispassion, detachment. This word is sometimes very difficult to hear. All the time these people are talking about detachment. It is not something very bad word, of course. It is something very relieving if you know what is really detachment means. I will tell you an incident to explain this. It was in the year that I came to Brazil. It was in 1999. I think I have told you the incident, I don't know. Maybe one of the sisters must have heard it earlier, but I can repeat for others. And one evening, just like the evening, just after Aarti, we were standing. One lady came and said, Swami, tomorrow a gentleman is coming from South India and I am going to have an Ayurvedic massage from him. She was a young person, a young lady. And I was a little bit surprised. The man is unknown man is coming from Kerala, from the South India, and this young lady is going to have massage from him, unknown. And it was a little bit shock for me because I was not accustomed to the Western way of thinking and living at the time. And inside, being brought up in the Indian culture or Indian values or family values or protective attitudes and all those things, I was a little bit shocked in the beginning, but I did not tell anything because she was a devotee and I did not mention anything. I just heard it. And she left the place. And this small little incident began to grill my mind. It was 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11, 12, 1, 2. I did not have sleep. Thinking about how this young lady can have a massage from a man who is unknown, who is coming from a far off country, and all kinds of things that was going on. I lost sleep. I did not know. Then suddenly, at particular moment, it was around 2:30 or 3 o'clock, suddenly I felt something was telling me inside, who are you to decide? Who are you to decide about these matters? She has her own freedom. Why do you lose your freedom? Something that was telling me very forcefully inside. She is an independent person. She has her own freedom to do what she likes. Who are you to her? Neither the father, nor the mother, nor the teacher, nor nothing. She is a devotee of the Lord, and you are also a devotee of the Lord. That's it. When that thoughts came, can you imagine, or perhaps you won't believe it, I slept so deeply, so deeply. Normally I used to get up at 5:30 or 5. That day I got up at 8 o'clock. With completely renovated, completely rejuvenated, completely refreshed. And that day I understood what is detachment means. What is attachment can bring a havoc in you. I am not telling that you should not have attachment or the idea of a particular word is not understood unless you have an experience. So in the right context, it happened and I felt really free. I understood for the first time what is really freedom means. Thereafter, I could apply this teaching up to myself in so many different ways, in so many different levels, that really felt I have learned something. These small freedoms can take a person to the highest freedom. I am convinced of that. This is only one incident I am telling you. So therefore in our life we come across, we unnecessarily create waves and waves of thousands and thousands of waves in our mind, and then lose all the peace and sleep, everything. It drains away all your energy and enthusiasm, everything. Just because we have not realized the true import of these spiritual teachings. Without this, you cannot think of illumination or samadhi or whatever it may be. For me, you have to clear up these bushes first, and then before you go to the top of the mountain. So I consider each and every experience that can free you, that can give you taste of these small little freedoms, these small little clarities of the mind, I consider is more important. They are the building blocks of what you are aiming at. So you put the foundation very strongly and you can build up. If you had thousands of thoughts, it can be reduced hundreds of thoughts. An average man, according to a study from Europe, I don't know, a couple of years ago I read this, an average man's head, almost 60 to 70,000 thoughts cross every day. And each thought, if I go on in this subject, each thought is a combination of subtle energy, power to work on this body, and power to work through this body on other things. So you are all the time handling subtle energy. If 60 to 70,000 thoughts can create such an energy, are you prepared to handle them? No. An ordinary man is difficult to handle. That's why so much of stress, strain, and all the difficulties at the physical level, mental level, emotional level, at every level it's happening because we don't know how to handle them. We don't know how to handle these subtle energies. This knowledge, self-knowledge, this experiential knowledge, I will call it, not intellectual knowledge, this experiential knowledge reveals you the secret of spiritual tidbits of life. And that accumulates slowly, slowly. So when I said thousands of thoughts come down to hundreds of thoughts, and hundreds of thoughts can come down to tens of thoughts, I am sure about it. And a completely thoughtless state with full awareness is what called illumination. That is my conclusion. Thinking is not your nature. It is against the true nature. Thinking is one point of view. Other point of view, thinking is good. This is from the another point of view. So therefore, if you have only one point of view, that is also an obstacle. So have many points of view. That is how the mind expands. About an object, about a point, you have many points of view. In that case, you don't have to fight with anybody. Because that person is telling one point of view and I am putting before another point of view. So where is the clash? You take it what is worth. I don't have to fight against it. If somebody says this is the only thing right, all right, I have it. And I have my own point of view. So therefore, the less number of thoughts in our mind, the more peaceful you are. And no thoughts is completed. Now, no thoughts means there are two ways. Either you can sleep deeply, no thoughts, or you go to the illumination state. So sleeping completely, deeply is not the solution because you come back with the same frame of mind, with the same perturbance, with the same thoughts, with the same emotional ups and downs. That is not a higher state. A deep sleep state is nothing but a causal state in which the other two states of your existence goes there in a seed form. One is the gross level of state of life that we have, waking state of life. All that you come across, you accumulate, do. The second one is your dream state. You create so many figures, you give life to the figures that you have created, you go on, talk, interact with all the figures. When you wake up, it all goes. So these two states have their seeds preserved in the causal state that is called a deep state. That is why when we come back, we have all the remembrance and we deal with them. So our life is nothing but going between these first two states, and then sometimes you go there, deep sleep. It's not very easy to get sleep also, remember. It is not very easy to go and have a good sleep. Impossible. I sometimes joke with these people. I am going to create an institution where people come and sleep soundly, without any medicine. I call that parking lot for human beings. Just like you have parking lot for cars and trucks, parking lot for human beings. Swami, what are you telling? Yes, then I explain this. People don't have sleep, good sleep. So I like to create a situation where they come, they just sleep. And normally I don't awake a person when he is in sleep, because that is the only time he is a little bit peaceful. So coming back to that, I don't go into too many details on this, but coming back to this, all these other two states have their seeds in the causal state. So we are not able to go beyond the causal state. The highest experience of samadhi, illumination, is nothing but having the awareness of the third state with full awareness. I think that's what I believe. At least I can have some idea. These ideas go on changing, go on evolving, leading to the true light. There is no end to this knowledge. And every little bit of this knowledge gives a great satisfaction because you have discovered something new for you. Literally, it can give you so much of comfort. And another effect of this self-knowledge is that it makes you the feeling of spiritual things, the spiritual ideas, the spiritual masters are utterly true. It gives you conviction. In the beginning, you start your spiritual practice with so many doubts. But with this kind of small experiences, it gives you a conviction. Spiritual truth is very true. Spiritual masters have taught it's very clear and very true. So your belief is converted into conviction. When this conviction happens, nothing else. You don't come back again. You don't come back one step back. You always go further and further and further. Explore the inner world. Explore the spiritual secrets that are in the form of books, that are in the form of teachings. That itself is a great joy. And it gives you a pure joy. I did not know what is that pure joy. Pure joy means, there's so much we read. Pure joy by discovering, by rediscovering, not that discovering, by rediscovering yourself can give you pure joy. By rediscovering the true knowledge can give you joy. It is not gained from books. It is not gained from somebody. It is not gained from the supermarket or by eating something. It just comes out of your own self, what you call Atman or Brahman or whatever it may be. When I say these words, I make a joke with these people in Brazil. You talk about He-Man, you talk about Superman, you talk about Spider-Man, and our sages has found Atman thousands of years ago, Brahman. They knew. So therefore these kind of things are there, hidden. They are the hidden treasures in your heart. We have these two wonderful instruments, that mind and this body. You can discover everything that you want. You can gain whatever you want, whether you want to gain dollars or whether you want to gain spiritual experiences. You have these two instruments. And it is there for you all the time. We are born to use this body consciousness to evolve every day until we reach the highest and know that body consciousness itself is not a harm, but don't confine yourself to that. Evolve, expand, more and more, explore, go deep within, and that knowledge can give you a wonderful piece of pure joy that is not gained from anywhere else. Sometimes the great discoveries are made by scientists. They are so joyful because they have discovered something new. So the spiritual scientists have told us, you can have this knowledge, but only you have to take effort to go deeper and deeper. So that is what I consider as a spiritual journey, as a spiritual practice. The small little experiences, what is told, what is detachment means really, or what is compassion really means. For example, compassion, we talk so much about compassion. The meaning of word compassion, you all know it very well, but still I repeat for myself. Passion means suffering in Latin, I think. Passion means suffering. Compassion, you are partaking the suffering of the other. Compassion. Compassion. In Portuguese, in Spanish, it's very beautiful. Com means I compartiliando. That means I partake the suffering of the others. Compassion. Now this compassion is not charity. Charity is very different from compassion. Charity is just you give something to somebody who is suffering, maybe food or education or whatever it may be, it's okay. But compassion is something deeply connected with their spiritual experience. The man who has experienced deep spiritual experiences, who knew that he is one penetrating through the whole of existence or the many living in him, he has the right compassion. A Buddha had it. He was not compassionate so only to human beings. For animals, Ashoka had established hospitals for animals according to this teaching. He identified himself with one with everything. Now, in our case, we are trying to identify, trying to have this consciousness of existence of many. We know many, but we don't know the one behind it. But we will have it one day. And for that, you have to go through all these tidbits of experiences. And this will accumulate, this will open up the way to that one. One is always hidden. Because it is, why it is hidden? Because it is so subtle. It is completely subtle, not known. But it is so evident, we don't know it. The sun is so evident. How many of us have awareness even for a minute every day? It's so evident. Like that self is evident, that's why we don't see it. The most evident thing in oneself is yourself. But we confine ourselves to the body consciousness and mistake that one real self for this body. Now you can expand it. I am not against having body consciousness as I tell you, but don't limit to it. And how to delimit it? Through this kind of spiritual practice. It can be a discussion, it can be a retreat, it can be a reading, it can be a holy company, or it can be hearing lectures, or it can be meditation, or it can be doing service to others. There are hundreds of thousands. You have hundreds of thousands things. You have to have a spiritual kit. No, you have a makeup kit. Most of you have a makeup kit. You carry so many things in that. So like that you have a spiritual kit where you can apply one or other or anything and then make your daily life spiritual and bringing the transformation within you. And then you can feel it, you can feel the change of it, and without your knowing, you will feel that awareness, that presence, invisible to others, or invisible to your own, the physical eyes, but your mental eye knows it, your spiritual heart knows it. The presence of that consciousness. It is there. It is surrounding all the time. You may leave it, you may forget it, but it will not. It is there with you. He is the good friend. He is the true lover. He is all in all for you. He is the father. He is the mother. We say, we chant. And it becomes so real. So make the spiritual life very real, enjoyable. It's not a burden. It is not something impossible. It is possible. The question is how to make it so palpable, so practical. That depends upon each individual's capacity, and you can accelerate this capacity. 40 years ago, I was also so much afraid of examination. I used to go to the Ganesh temple and say, oh, please help me to get over this examination. I was having so many doubts. I was feeling weak in so many ways. But today, if you ask me, I would say completely it's all gone forever, never to come back. So your evolution happens never to come back. It is as if you are traveling from this side of the bridge to the other side of the bridge, and every time you have crossed over the bridge, you burn the bridge. Your bridge is burnt. You cannot come back. You don't come back. Don't want to come back. You understand the idea? Every time you cross a bridge and burn the bridge, never to come back. So spiritual evolution is like that. A wonderful journey, marvelous journey, a strength-giving journey, and peace and happiness and joy goes with it. And our joy is in the knowledge, the self-knowledge, which is the source of all power. And with that knowledge, you gain whatever you want. You want to materially, you want to gain, go ahead. No problem. So for that person, and he is the person who is fit to live in this world. When Sri Ramakrishna says, after attaining the knowledge, you live in the world. This is what he means, as I understood. With that knowledge, you go and live in the world. The world will not live with you, but you are living in the world, and that is the greatest blessing the world can have. If you want to contribute to the world, live like this. One soul is the salt of the earth. And the great sages and saints came with that knowledge. They were born with that knowledge. We are struggling in that knowledge. And who knows, one among you can be, it can happen any day, can be a realized soul with that knowledge moving around the Southern California, who knows. So the point is that you take great interest. Your spiritual practice, your spiritual life should be very vibrating inside. Liking. I like this. I want to meditate. I want to explore more and more. So whenever you go deep into meditation and come back, you get transformed, which I call it, which one Swami used to call it, and I have the copyright with him, so therefore I can explain to him. He is no more. And he says, it's a daily reincarnation. You know, you have heard about reincarnation. And when he said daily reincarnation, I was astonished. I said, what is that? Whenever you go into deep in your meditation, you come back a little bit transformed. Even a little bit transformation. That is called daily reincarnation. So what are you doing? I am forming my reincarnation today, tomorrow. A little bit changed. Yesterday I was so much angry, or I had been so much angry, I used to explode every 2 hours, now I am exploding every 1 hour. It's okay, good, you have improved. So all these tidbits of practical realizations help us to visualize, to have a clear idea about the highest spiritual experience. And they pave the way. They clear the way. They tell you what is obstructing you. They put before you in your mental eye, these are the obstructions. You can reduce this. They give you a solution. You know, they don't present only problems. With this knowledge, they give you a solution also. In the headquarters, whenever any Swami comes with a problem, please bring a solution also. We tell them. We tell them. Don't come only with the problem. And it's true with us. This self-knowledge has its own solution. And don't worry about the challenges, difficulties, problems. You can resolve it. The self-knowledge gives you strength. It gives you clarity. It gives you peace. It gives you happiness. It gives all that you are looking for. What more do you want? We are all seeking only that. So I think it is time, auspicious time to stop now, and you have enough food to think about it, and I am glad that I have exchanged certain ideas in this short time, in the short visit. So the surprise visit or surprise talk is all the more sweet for me. I don't know about you. Thank you very much.